What's up, Tailgaters? You're in the booth with Tailgate Nate today. Welcome to my channel. Week 3 predictions are starting today, and while it might not be the biggest week of the college football season, still a lot of interesting games and a lot of upset potential happening this week, including this game right here. We got the 11th ranked Tennessee Volunteers going on the road in the swamp to play the Florida Gators. Before we dive on into this preview prediction, thank you guys so much for the support the channel has seen over these past 2 to 3 months. It has been crazy. In order to continue to show your support for the channel, hit the subscribe button, ring the bell so you know when videos get uploaded. But guys, there are more ways than that to help me support this channel. You guys are doing one of them right now by watching the video, and you guys can do more by liking, commenting, sharing, anything else you guys are willing and or able to do to help me support my channel means a lot to me. Hard to believe that we're already in week 3 of the college football season, but we are. It is here. Let's go ahead and dive on into this game. Got the Tennessee Volunteers, got the Florida Gators, and it's two teams that seem to be on the opposite side of the spectrum in the SEC. Florida, probably not going to have that great of a year based on what we've saw from these past 2 games, although there still are a lot of things to like about the Florida Gators. Meanwhile, the Tennessee Volunteers had a dominant performance against Virginia and then really struggled last week against an FCS opponent in Austin Peay. So really, this is going to be an interesting game between two programs that definitely still have some work to do. Let's go ahead and dive on into the stats that these two teams have put up over their first 2 games. We are going to start with the visiting team, and in this game here, that's going to be the Tennessee Volunteers. Again, as I've said, they are ranked 11th according to the AP poll right now. I believe I have Tennessee at like 14th or something like that in my personal poll. But when you take a look at this offense, I mean, it is dynamic. It's a lot more dynamic running the ball than I feel like a lot of people are going to think this Tennessee team should be, right? Joe Milton is that quarterback. He's got just a plethora of weapons around him, and Joe Milton's also got one of the biggest arms in college football, yet this is a Tennessee team that is running the ball technically better than they are throwing the ball right now. That's not to say that Joe Milton's been doing bad. 429 yards, 66% completion, and 4 touchdowns, no picks. He's been doing really, really well, and they've got a lot of good weapons, such as Ramel Keaton, Squirrel White, Brew McCoy, that are still very prevalent in this offense. But this running back room has really been able to get it done. Jalen Wright, Jabari Small, Dylan Sampson are some guys that have proved very, very effective. In fact, Dylan Sampson, even though he's the 3rd leading rusher on this team, has 3 rushing touchdowns, and then Joe Milton himself has 3 rushing touchdowns as well. If you want to see this offense do something a little bit better, it's definitely convert on those 3rd down opportunities, right? Not a very good 3rd down team, at least up to this point in the year, only 32%. That's got to improve. It's going to be a tough task to do against this Florida defense, but it's got to improve. And speaking of defense, let's move over to the Volunteer side of things, where the defense definitely has been, or definitely has taken a step up from years past. And especially in that pass rush ability, Tennessee's really vaulted to that next step, right? They have 11 sacks through 2 games. If you're not that great with numbers, don't worry, I did the math for you. That's 5.5 sacks per game. Their leading tackler, Aaron Beasley, has 2 of them. The defensive lineman, Tyler Barron, has 3 of them. And there are a lot of other great defensive players here. You have a defensive back in Kamal Hayden who already has 5 passes defended on the season, which is absolutely crazy. It's a Tennessee defense that's performed really, really well, but maybe still has some room to grow in that secondary, right? And that secondary has not really been tested yet. Well, if you look at the stats here on this Florida offense, I never really thought I'd be saying that Graham Mertz is going to give this team actually a really nice test, is going to give this Tennessee secondary a really nice test. But you know what? Graham Mertz, a change of scenery, while it hasn't been all perfect for Graham Mertz, it's been pretty darn good. He's 45 of 61 for 526 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick. Guys, that's a 74, right around 74% completion percentage. A change of scenery might just be what he needed. The running game is performing really well. You got guys like Montrell Johnson, Trevor Etienne that are in the backfield. There's a plethora of wide receivers that have gotten touches on the football, but none greater than, again, a former Arizona State transfer in Ricky Pearsall. He's played really, really well. Had, I believe, 123 yards against McNeese last week. Again, this is the Florida team that you can improve on 3rd down conversion percentage, right? Definitely not, much like Tennessee, not a great 3rd down team offensively. So you got to be able to take advantage, be able to convert those 3rd and shorts. That's going to be crucial, especially in this game. And to add onto that, I thought the run game has performed really well. Graham Mertz and company are being able to sling the ball pretty effectively. Again, they haven't faced a defense that's as aggressive as Tennessee's defensive front could be. Now, we know Utah's a very physical, aggressive defense, but the way this Tennessee pass rush has looked, throughout the first couple of weeks, and actually, I kind of retract my statement there. I think Utah's probably the best defense that Florida has played up to this point. But Tennessee can pose a very unique, very special challenge to this Florida offense as well. So you got to be able to protect the quarterback. Defensively for Florida, I mean, hey, it's been all sunshine and rainbows so far. You were able to stop virtually everything last week against McNeese. And Utah, while they're not the most dynamic of offenses, was able to kind of take it to this Florida defense, especially with some of the physicality they bring on the offensive front. They were also able to hit some deep shots down the field, so the numbers may be a little bit skewed. Again, they've only played 2 games, and again, Utah's not the most dynamic of offensive teams. They rely a lot more on that defense, but Florida's done very, very well as a third down defensive team, only allowing 21.7%. And as of right now, guys, they are tops in the nation in some of these numbers here. I mean, yards per game, they're tops in the nation in that. They're some of the, or I should say, they're one of the leaders in the nation in third down defense as well. But you got to be able to generate a little bit more pressure on the quarterback. Only 2 sacks throughout this year, which again, an average of a sack per game, not a terrible statistic, but by any means, but in this game, it's going to be imperative that you create pressure on Joe Milton, which leads me into my what to watch for, kind of your keys to the game, just some things that you maybe want to be watching for while you are watching this game. So let's go ahead and start out with the Tennessee Volunteers here. And sorry, I just noticed a typo, so that's why there was a little cut in the recording there. Martz has now been fixed to Mertz, so apologies for that. But starting out with the Tennessee Volunteers here, right? Milton and the pass game will be explosive. And I know I've said that this is the Tennessee team that's statistically been able to run the ball a lot better than they've been able to throw the ball. But again, it's been really good for Joe Milton. This is a much more aggressive Florida defensive front than what Tennessee has played over their past couple of games. And so this is a Joe Milton-led offensive passing attack that's going to have to do a little bit more than what they've done in their past couple of games to be able to pull this one out. Create havoc in the backfield for this Florida team. Now, this Florida offensive line does have a big piece coming back to it. The name right now is escaping my mind, Florida fans. I'm sure you know who I am talking about. I apologize. The name has just slipped my mind. But Florida is getting a big boost back on that offensive line that hasn't really lived up to standard so far. So create havoc in the backfield, be able to slow down this Florida run game and get pressure to Graham Mertz. But speaking of this Tennessee defense, it's going to need to step up. It's going to need to make some plays, especially in the pass unit, right? Graham Mertz has been pretty effective as a quarterback so far. And Ricky Parasol is a wide receiver that has performed really, really well so far this year. So this secondary is definitely going to be facing a test here, definitely their biggest test of the season. It's got to step up and make some plays for the Florida Gators here. Graham Mertz has to challenge the Volunteer secondary. Basically, back to what I said there, it's a Tennessee secondary that, while I think has made some minor improvements from last year, Graham Mertz and company are going to be its first kind of true test, right? And now Graham Mertz is not the best quarterback in the SEC, and he doesn't have the best group of wide receivers the SEC has to offer, but he has enough talent. His wide receiver room has enough talent to get the job done. The offensive line, again, the name's still just escaping my mind. Don't know why I can't think of it. They get a big boost back on the offensive line. It's been kind of a patchwork offensive line so far. You got to be able to fix that, and you got to be able to win the battle against this Tennessee defensive front, be able to open up lanes for your run game, and be able to give protection for Graham Mertz to find Parasol and other wide receivers down the field. But the biggest thing for Florida is you got to be able to force turnovers. You got to capitalize off of those turnovers as well. If you can win the turnover battle here, again, the Swamp is a very tough place to play. If you can force turnovers, you can make Tennessee kind of play it to your style, Florida's going to have a pretty good chance here to win this game, but it leads me into my prediction. Tennessee is the favorite, according to Vegas, right now by near a touchdown and extra point. The FBI likes Tennessee there as well. I think it's going to be a very competitive, very close-knit game for the most part, but I think Tennessee in this offense will be too dynamic. They will pull away towards the end here, and the Tennessee Volunteers, Joe Milton, Josh Heupel, and company will walk their way to a 3-0 start while the Gators fall to 1-2. That is my thoughts and opinions. Let me know yours on this game in the comment section down below. And as always, remember to play hard but tailgate harder. See you guys in the next video. Goodbye.